This episode of New Jersey Living, the podcast, we are diving into what I'm calling part 4 of the Buyer Beware series. Those who've been watching, we have episode number 1 that was on inspection and attorney review and what the inspection contingency is. During that episode, if you recall, if you haven't seen it, just dial back and either whatever platform you use for podcasting and just check it out. It's one of the early ones, probably maybe episode 3 or 4. That one we talked about inspection contingency as it pertains to protections for the buyer and what buyers need to be concerned about. And we did talk about USTs, underground storage tanks, which is something that is, pretty common here in New Jersey. All right. So there is at one point in Jersey's history, there was just a significant proliferation of underground storage tanks for fuel heating, oil heating, that is, for homes that were built in a mostly pre-war time frame. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that topic today. And the other buyer bewares were more specific to appraisals and then the home inspection itself. But another piece of those inspections that I always have my clients undergo is a sewage line, sewer scope, which is an inspection of the sewage line. It's one of those hidden dangers that you never really see or notice, but something that can become very costly if there are issues with that system as you buy. So this I'm considering part 4 of that series. So stay tuned, and we have some very significant and important and interesting content coming your way. Let's dive into it now. Welcome to New Jersey Living, the podcast, where we explore all things New Jersey real estate. I'm your host, Corey Jones, a real estate agent with Coldwell Banker and team leader of the New Jersey Living Group. We're a team of experienced agents who specialize in residential sales in several counties ranging from Bergen County in northern New Jersey to Ocean County down the shore. On this podcast, we will talk to real estate experts, local business owners, community leaders, and town officials to get the inside scoop various towns in New Jersey. We'll discuss everything from the latest market trends to featured local attractions with dining, recreation, and entertainment. Whether you're a current resident, a prospective buyer, or just curious about New Jersey real estate, we have something for you. So sit back, relax, and join us for a conversation about all things New Jersey living. As I said in intro, welcome to episode 15 of New Jersey Living, the podcast. And this is part 4 of our Buyer Beware series. What lies beneath is kind of our theme for this particular episode. I have with me 2 guests that I work with routinely on pretty much all of my buy-side transactions. So I have one of the key technicians, and I'm going to get your actual title, because Brian, you're director of operations, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's big fancy director of operations.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. So Brian is on a number of my my jobs that I have that I call in for GPR1. GPR1 is my go-to for oil tank sweeps, and Brian is going to get into the technical side of what they do and why I really lean to that company when I are recommending to buyers that they need to have one. And then Rocco is my go-to guy for sewer scopes. Rocco is going to drop some of his insight and experiences with that, because we've had to navigate some very interesting scenarios, right, Rock? So we'll get some of his insights here as well. So I'm going to start with Brian, GPR1. So Brian, just give us a little bit of background on GPR1 itself, the company.
Yeah. So we have 2 companies under one roof. This is commonly a little bit confusing, but so it's GPR1 Call and GPR Tank Sweep. GPR1 Call is an older company and been in business over 10 years. Underground locating, commercial underground locating, all types of underground locating. So 5 years ago, it got to the point where we were regularly receiving phone calls from realtors. We've had a tank sweep done. We found a metal anomaly under the ground here. Can you guys come out with ground penetrating radar and figure out what may be below? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. We can see size, shape, and depth with ground penetrating radar. And basically, we would show up and take care of that job, but it was one thing that we could offer, one service. And we saw the need immediately for a proper, UST investigation, UST underground storage tank. That's what that stands for, that common term you may hear throughout this little podcast. But we decided to just come up with a new system utilizing all of the underground locating techniques that we have to offer at GPR One Call, create a new business, GPR Tank Sweep. And that's what we did. So our system is a 5-step process, starting with a visual inspection. We're going to look in the basement for any signs of previous oil use. What we're looking for is feed lines that have been abandoned, cut off. I mean, even the cement trail where they used to be, we can follow that around and see where, they might have led out of the foundation. If we find abandoned copper lines, we then use line tracing equipment. We hook onto those lines, and that takes us out to where a tank is or once was. Valuable information. This isn't normally a process that's been done by, or, hasn't been used by underground locating companies just looking for tanks. So, then metal detection, of course, walk around the perimeter of the property. 30-foot perimeter is standard, or we can absolutely do whole property sweeps when requested. With metal detector, then GPR scanning, that's ground penetrating radar. It's a device, it looks like a push mower, and we push it back and forth over the area that we want to check in a grid-like format. And we can see size, shape, depth. We can sometimes see UST grave is what we call it, when there's been a tank and they filled that hole with gravel or fill material, and we know that there was one there, we can see it. Finally, if we believe there's a tank there, we do rod probing, 5th step. That's where we literally drill down with like these 4-foot long drill bits that we made and touch the tank and then stick a magnet to it to be sure we have a steel structure, not a steel reinforced concrete structure that may have been buried, like construction debris, abandoned septic, abandoned stormwater management system, anything that isn't a UST. That's how we make a differentiation. So that's our process, but also equally valuable is our report. Our report's done by the end of the following business day, and we carry $2 million professional liability insurance on our report. So if we err in our investigation, and we have insurance in place to take care of it. So that gives great peace of mind for the home buyer, that all of the areas have been checked. Typically, if you just order just a tank sweep, a guy's going to show up with a metal detector and do a visual inspection in the basement. Well, that leaves a lot of areas unchecked, because what about the steel reinforced concrete walkway or the that stamped concrete patio in the back? They've got the fine print on their report stating that, this investigation excludes areas of high interference, such as, we don't do that. We check those areas. We check them using ground penetrating radar, so that we're doing a much more thorough job.
That's why I was going to jump in.
It.
That's because I was going to jump in when you had mentioned the report itself and what have you. And as you led into that, I remember distinctly there was a job where, and this is going back a few years, and the buyer, he preferred, most of my clients will at least research recommendations that I provide, right? So I by no means, I don't have relationships with any of the inspectors, companies, or contractors where I receive kickbacks of any kind. All right. So I just want to refer who I know to be the best. This particular client was trying to save $1, all right, which I can respect. Home purchase is a very significant investment, and the inspections do add up. But at the end of the day, this is this is probably the largest investment that any of us make in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So this particular property, I remembered location. It was in Nutley, and any area. It seems, and Brian, you can speak to this because you all do business all around the state. But
yes,
in my experience, the closer you are to Manhattan, like if you're Hudson, if you're Bergen, if you're Essex, and even Union, you have a significant likelihood that it had an oil tank, because many of those properties date back to pre-World War II, right?
Yeah. So just a brief history. Oil tanks in New Jersey, when oil became available in the 30s, they started to bury underground storage tanks to hold the heating oil for several reasons. Aesthetics, underground, the frost line, the oil won't gel. There were a lot of reasons. So they buried oil tanks in New Jersey up to 1990. Just know that. Yes.
1990.
Yes. Wow. So that's a huge time span where these tanks were going into the ground every single day.
Okay.
And don't forget, a lot of people forget about this, or they never thought of it. underground storage tank was engineered to last 30 years by quality of steel, wall thickness, all of that. So if it was put in the ground in the 30s, 1960 comes, it's rusted, it's leaking oil out, water in. What did they do in 1960? Put another oil tank in the ground.
Got it.
And not worry about the old one. So I have found up to 3 oil tanks on one property.
Wow.
So,
that's a good point.
And they're all over the state. But yes, those are hot spots as we go closer to Manhattan, and Newark, and they are.
Yes,
they're all over the place.
I consider Bayonne to be the UST capital. You know what I mean? It's like everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yes, definitely. But this particular case chose a because and when I first so those of, again, if you listen to my podcast and maybe even seen some of my YouTube episodes, my real estate career began in Virginia back in like 1996. So me coming to New Jersey, UST was a foreign concept. Right. The only tanks that you would see in Virginia were when they had them above ground, like on the stilts or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So it was not a UST water table where I grew up. It was like coastal. So there would have been all kind of issues of having a lot underground. So, so coming here, the first few transactions that I had, what I had was someone, and this was me leaning on a colleague to say, hey, look, who do you use? And they say, hey, look, at that time it was like $180, right? $180. This person will come out. They come out with the big metal wand and they do their thing. And the challenge, as you already know, is eventually you come across like steel reinforced concrete or some other barrier that's going to cause a problem with detecting. And so I learned very quickly, you know what? I need to have like the best of the best. So I started going with you guys. I told them, you guys are a little bit more costly, but you're getting more in terms of the thoroughness, right? As well as the insurance.
Yeah.
So I explained that to him, and he just really wanted to save $1, right? So came across driveway was in fact steel reinforced concrete, and it was inconclusive. Right. So the results and as you can allude to, and I'll have you speak on that too as well, Brian, a lot of USTs were buried underneath driveways.
Yeah. Driveway is super common area for UST to be underneath.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So there are a lot of New Jersey where it's blacktop for driveway, and that's not as difficult to penetrate, as I understand, than your steel reinforced concrete. So he had to basically get it. I had to bring you guys in anyway, right? Because I'm saying, hey, look, and not for nothing, it was there. It was there. It was that definitely was a UST that was there. So yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of a pointer that it is worth the investment to get the most thorough and complete inspection that you can.
Yeah.
Right?
And just so everyone knows, at the time of this recording, we're $395 anywhere in New Jersey. That's our full 5-step process. It's not, we don't do add-ons or now you need this. That's the full investigation, whatever it takes to figure out your property. $395 single family home, residential property in New Jersey. And then we do commercial properties every day. And they go up from there based on size. We can quote, but a typical tank sweep today, from what I hear, is anywhere between $200. I heard one with a wand done just last week for $350. I don't know who's doing that, but we're at $395. We're getting about 5 times the value between your insurance and all of the steps we use for $100 more on average.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's when you're talking buying a $500,000, $2 million, whatever, $5 million property, I think it's well worth it. An extra $100.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
And the insurance, that's a transferable report we give too. A lot of people don't know about that transferable report. We have the only one in the business. When you're ready to sell and we've done your tank sweep and we give you a property that's clear on paper, you can advertise that and say, you don't need to do a tank sweep as an incoming buyer. You can simply call GPR1, call GPR tank sweep, and we'll make you a new report with your name.
Now, here's the other piece to that process. And when we have tank removed, you have potentially soil testing. So just share with me, is soil testing, because I've heard different things from different companies. Is it standard that you always, or you're looking for specifically, was there deterioration or signs of leakage?
Yeah. So we don't test soil personally, but our company, we have several companies that actually, oil tank removal companies, that hire us to go out and find tanks where they can't find them. And we refer to them for any testing or removals. So in the areas, which we find this all the time too, line tracing will lead me to a point, let's say in the front yard of the house, 20 feet out from the front. I have a UST grave when I scan with radar. I have no metal anomaly with metal detection. Okay.
Right.
We have no documentation of a removal. Nobody has it. The town doesn't have it. The owner doesn't have it. That tank was there. We have evidence. I'm looking at all types of evidence. The lines leading right to that spot. And I'm looking at a UST grave. So what happened here?
Right.
So I just had one of these in Newark just before the end of the year. And, I suggested to my customer, I really recommend you have this tested. And it was a filthy mess.
Oh, wow.
That was someone flipping a house.
Yeah.
And we knew that they were trying to hide some other evidence.
Okay.
And yeah, so that was like a $30,000 cleanup. And so we found the pain point, even though there was no tank there, using our other methods.
There was, yes, absolutely. And that's a good point. So just to, for those who may not be as familiar with the process, when a tank is removed, there is a permit required. Yeah. So when you pull an Oprah report, and this is something that came up in earlier episode as well, that Oprah report basically is an open public records act that allows access to the general public on specific information on a property. So a tank removal would be one of those items. You can make a request for an Oprah. If there was a tank there and that tank was removed, there should be a permit. Otherwise, it was removed and it just kind of went undercover, right? Swept under the rug, which would, in the case that Brian just referenced, there was in fact soil contamination, which I've seen on the low end. And again, we're recording right now, early 2024. Your low end cleanups, at least right now, are in about the $12,000 range. And that can just go up from there, right? So you do the math, $30,000 doesn't sound odd at all. All right. So it is worth definitely having it and understanding that there should be some kind of permit documentation if a tank, in fact, was removed. All right. So I'm going to jump over to Rocco now, because Rocco is that other end of what I call my undercover detectives, if you will. So Rocco comes into play, and Rocco does more than sewage. I'll let you dive into that, Rock, at the end, just to kind of give the full scope of what you do. But Rocco routinely is the technician that I'm going to recommend to a client to have a sewer scope done. And Rocco, I just want you to kind of give an understanding of what is a sewer scope and why is it so critical to have one, particularly in the areas of New Jersey that we're already talking about, that we service, that have homes that are routinely 70, 80, 90, 100 years old.
So basically, we check the sewer line that goes from every house. Most likely has a clean out, which is where you have access to get into the sewer line. Right. So we have these specialized cameras that we put in, and we go from the clean out and we check the pipe. We go towards the back of the house, and then we also, most importantly, check the clean out that goes all the way to the main sewer in the street. We do approximately, in Jersey, we cover New York also, but in Jersey we do about 40 a week on average.
Okay.
And 75%, sometimes more, have serious issues. That's how bad it is.
When we talk about serious, what are we talking, Rock? When you say a serious, we'll give the audience an idea, because most buyers have no idea that there isn't, they hear about root penetration, which is an obvious one, but just give a little overview.
Yeah, so a lot of times you could have like roots that penetrate the pipe. So most of the times when roots penetrate the pipe, they're breaking the pipe. So once they break the pipe, some people will be told, you could just remove the roots, hydrojet, and you're fine. They don't tell them the second half of that the roots are going to grow back in 3 months. So there's really no way to get those roots out unless you fix that pipe. So also what you get is there's all different types of pipes. There's a pipe called transite that was being used during World War II, because all the cast iron material was being used to make tanks
for the war. Yeah,
for the war. So transite pipe you can't repair a transite pipe. It's made from wood fibers, coal, and tar. So that has like a 20-year lifespan, and I see a lot of that in New Jersey. What happens with that pipe, if you have a small section that's damaged, it's not like you could dig it up and do a spot repair, because when that pipe basically just disintegrates and it gets oval shaped. So if you dig that up, there's no way to attach a PVC pipe or cast iron pipe to that pipe. They just don't sell an oval attachment to a round.
Right.
You basically have to replace the whole pipe.
Got it.
Other issues is clay piping, terracotta. Those sections of pipe come in 2-foot sections where if you have PVC or cast iron, they're 10-foot sections. So that's why you're going to have a lot more problem with the clay. And New Jersey is loaded with terracotta. So basically when the soil below that piping gets moist, the sections of piping will disconnect. It's called pipe offset. So they kind of go like this.
Right.
So when people start flushing and stuff, paper will stick to it and it just creates backups. The other serious issue to that is once you get one offset and you don't repair it, water flows and seeps into the earth and softens the soil further. So now you're going to get 2 offsets.
There's compounds. Okay.
Yes, it just compounds. Eventually, it's going to collapse. Then we have cast iron piping. Cast iron has a 50-year lifespan. Technically, if you maintain it, it will last you 100, 110, 120 years. I've done sewer inspections with cast iron pipe where the pipe was 120 years old and it was fine.
Okay.
I've done some 20 years old and it was just a disaster.
And get a little bit too, Rock, with the inspection itself. How do you conduct the inspection and visually can make out all? Because most buyers, again, they've never seen this done.
So basically, we take the cameras and we insert the cameras into the piping, and we try to reach the city main. Sometimes we can't. So basically, the cameras, when we insert the cameras, they have heavy duty lighting, and we make videos. When we see defects, we take pictures, and we just get the camera all the way out to the main. And then, we write in-depth reports. In our reports, most guys will just say, oh, you had this. My reports are like 10, 12 pages long. We give people like a general understanding of every issue that could be in that pipe.
And the video footage is available as well.
And the video
right?
footage is available. When we send people the report, they get the video footage. It goes as a link that goes up on YouTube. Photos, whatever else they need.
Right.
And that pretty much covers it. So
Got it.
Also, if there is an issue, we have on our cameras we have transmitters. And we're able to locate above ground where that issue
is, how far down line and location. Yeah.
How far, how deep. So if there is an issue, most guys want to sell you on repairing a whole new sewer line. You don't always need that. Sometimes you could do a simple spot repair, save a lot of money. Another thing we also do too, if there is an issue and as long as the pipe's not collapsed, we could insert an epoxy resin into the sewer line. And we have another machine that goes in with it, and it takes the epoxy and it just lines the pipe.
Okay.
And when this stuff dries, it's like steel. So, and it's half the cost.
Got it. That's good insight. I know you've offered that for a few jobs I've seen that have saved people a lot of money. So Rocco, obviously, I use him routinely for or recommend him routinely for sewer scope. Rocco, your services expand beyond that, so you do a lot of chimney work and general inspection yourself. So just give some insights on those other services that you
we pretty much do like all types of handyman services, chimney, plumbing, concrete, sheetrocking if needed. We pretty much we're multifaceted.
Got it. And so it's good to have a reliable
yes
inspector as well as someone who can both inspect and repair. So that's another value add when it comes to Rocco's services. So we're gonna really quick flash up Rocco's contact info here. So Rocco, I would imagine both email and phone are probably the best way, or
my email is metrosewerinspections@gmail.com. My website is metrosewerservice.com. My phone number is 347-962-1076. And we're open 7 days a week.
Thank you, Rock. I appreciate it. So I'm going to skip back to Brian. This is we start to wrap this up. Brian, just give us an idea on what's the best way to get a hold of GPR.
Yeah, check out our website, www.gprtanksweep.com. You could scroll to the bottom, and there is a spot where you can enter your info and book an appointment right there, quick and easy. Someone from the office will get back to you very quickly after you enter on our website form. If you want to see some interesting finds, we post them up as we go. Instagram, just go on Instagram, GPR Tank Sweep. We're on there. You could see photos of underground storage tanks we found underneath people's floors in their living room where it's a slab-on grade addition. There's pictures, stuff like that there, our findings. And then, phone number 908-698-4556. Again, 908-698-4556.
All right, so that's going to conclude this episode. Again, valuable information and insight here. Every inspection that I have in New Jersey, that's not a condo. All right, so even if it's a townhome, I still will have that recommendation out there. You hope that developers have done due diligence with a townhome development, you know what I mean? But I put it out there at the very least. But if you're buying single family, multifamily, you absolutely want to have both of these inspections, because these are things that are beyond sight, but become very, very costly if there's an issue. So I want to thank you again for joining us on this episode. Be sure to click like, subscribe, notification bell. Stay tuned for the content that is coming your way. And we need your help to get this word out there that we are covering topics on home ownership and the journey of buying and selling a home, but also different locations here in the Garden State of New Jersey. So we have episodes on this very topic, but also places to dine, social, entertainment. If it happens in New Jersey, we're going to end up talking about it right here on New Jersey Living Podcast. So everyone stay safe and stay tuned to New Jersey Living.